From former White House Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought. Russ, good to talk to you. There's a trick that's being played by the administration. They don't acknowledge the fact that inflation is higher than wage gains. In other words, working Americans are underwater as far as that goes, because what they do is they add on to the wages all of the extra money that the government has been handing out in terms of not only cash, in terms of cash payments, but also in terms of all of the benefits that workers are getting from the government, which of course is paid for with deficit spending. So that's how they come up with a figure saying that wage hikes, in addition to the government payouts, are beating inflation. What do you think of their way of doing math?
Well, I don't think it's inappropriate to assess the strength of the economy. I don't think it's an appropriate way to assess the strength of the American people's pocketbooks. The American people know that their wages, as it compares to the real economy with inflation, it ends up somewhere in the neighborhood of 7% by the end of the year, is not what they would like. They're heading into the Christmas season, and they are facing higher prices. They're facing higher prices at the grocery store. And so this is, you know, the administration can come up with these kinds of ways of presenting information, but it just makes them look tone deaf.
And you never beat inflation, whether you're an investor or just based on your wages. Inflation always gets the best of you, doesn't it? That's what Warren Buffett said years ago.
It does, and it is a silent tax on all consumers. It hurts people who are living on fixed incomes in a particular way, and it's something that, thankfully, the Fed is beginning to really take a look at it and tackling the issue in a serious way. They have been loath to do that. They're no longer calling it transitory, and they're taking steps that are necessary. And the unfortunate aspect is that you have the Biden administration's policy continuing to weigh against the economy, and we need the economy to do more than where it is right now. It's coming out of a pandemic shock, so of course it's doing better in a certain respect, but compared to what we need to do to be able to absorb the potential rate hikes that are coming next year, you know, the Biden administration's policies are just going to continue to harm us. And
you know what we're going to have is, as I said earlier, a double whammy. Not only are our rates going to go higher, but we're also going to have tax rates go higher. So and on many different fronts, tax rates with regard to capital gains, personal income, and of course a lot of small businesses take their profit as personal income. I mean, there could be a double hit against businesses, against growth in this country from both rates and taxes.
No question. Those tax increases are going to really hurt the economy and businesses across the country if the Senate is not able to stop the Build Back Better bill. And we're going to continue to see this spending that's only going to exacerbate the current inflationary conditions that we're beginning to see take off. So, you know, the cost of energy is potentially going to continue to rise as they have an anti-energy exploration agenda. So, you know, down the list, the number of regulations that they're putting forward, all of these hurt the economy, which we need to go and be roaring back in a new way, in a vital and robust way.
Now, we should mention, going back to the numbers that we had and what the president is talking about, the way he describes those jobs numbers on Friday, he says he focuses on the unemployment figure, which came down much more than people thought it would, but also job creation was down much more than expectations were. It was less than half of what was expected. What that says to me is that we have a real deficit on the supply side, on the creation of new jobs by small businesses. That is of great concern to me. But the president, again, focusing on the slowdown in the unemployment rate. What do you think is more important?
Yeah, I think it's important that we continue to have an economy where people are creating jobs, and also it's important to have people feel the need to get back off the sidelines and into the economy. And we've had policies that are weighing them down from making that decision for themselves, and we need those conditions to change. Look, the Biden administration is going to present the information in a way that allows them to rescue their bill on Capitol Hill. The Senate needs to be very clear in stopping that, and thankfully Joe Manchin has done that this far. But the conditions for which Joe Manchin has said he would support that bill are not being met right now in Joe Biden's economy, and I think that's the real thing that is standing in the way of the agenda being passed by this administration.
Russ Vought, former OMB director. Great to see you, Russ. Thank you very much.